Irshad, what's your story?
Forget my story. I want to hear more about grandmother. And are you writing a book about your
I'm writing
grandmother?
a book about grandmother, but as you know, bringing our voices out is a long journey. So I live with a voice and I write it. And it came out really interesting first bits. And thank you for reminding me. I have to do it. And I have her on tape.
Lydia
so
and I were
put it-
talking about deadlines earlier. So
Okay.
we also look forward to the film version of this book.
Grandmother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, I can't claim to have had any such role models or influences in my life. One quick story, not dissimilar to what Lydia told us. My family and I are refugees from Uganda in East Africa. We settled just outside of Vancouver, Canada in 1972. And I remember at the age of 8, my mother worked the graveyard shift for an airline company. She was a cleaning lady. I grew up in a pretty violent household, physically and emotionally violent. And one evening, while my mother was at work, my father began screaming about something, I don't even know what, that he is going to kill my mother when she gets home. And I had heard these screams too many times, and I had had enough. It was done. I was no longer going to tolerate it. And I said to my father, not with the sort of adult language I'm about to express, but very much the sentiment, that we live in a society where I know, even as a kid, even as a child, I know that I can call certain people to make sure that you don't touch my mother in a way that she doesn't want. And of course, I was referring to police, and I was referring to social service agencies and so forth. My father responded to me in the only way that he knew how, which is more violence. And so he went to the drawer of the kitchen, pulled out a knife, and chased me through the house, threatening to amputate, slice off one of my ears. And I knew when to run, and I ran. And I ran up the stairs and into my bedroom and threw open the window and scrambled up to the top of the roof. And that entire night I spent on top of the roof. Even if my mother had been home, assuring me of safety and therefore trying to convince me to come back inside, I don't think I would have come. Not because I was afraid. In fact, at this point, I was not afraid of anything. Instead, what I experienced on the rooftop that night amounted to something of an epiphany, a realization of how unbelievably fortunate I am to be a refugee, but have wound it up in a society that today we would call an open society. A society in which the conclusion of who we are as a people is not yet known, if ever it will be. Because this is a society, every open society, is one in which we are constantly under renovation. And so our story is evolving, our story is ongoing. And what that made me realize is that, and I didn't mean this literally at the time, is that each one of us who has the privilege of these kinds of freedoms gets to be at least the partial author of the grander story of who we are. And it was that night I made the commitment to myself and to my family that I was not going to be stuck in the cycle of violence that existed under that roof, and that I would use the freedoms that my family was given, not that we fought for, not that we shed blood for, not frankly that we even earned. We were given these freedoms upon coming to Canadian soil. So every single morning to this very day, as it was this morning, before I tumble out of bed, and we know how hard that is for us, Ursula, I ask God, help me today to understand what it is that I can do to be worthy of the freedoms that I have been given. And in many ways, the gratitude for these freedoms is certainly part of what led me to write The Trouble with Islam today.
Wow, thank you.
Malala.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Regarding the topic about freedom of expression, especially women condition there in Afghanistan, first I want to say, unfortunately, today men and women of our country do not have liberation at all. But regarding the women situation, this about 30 years war in Afghanistan, women and children, they were the first and most victims during the war in many violences against them, and also as freedom of expression is valued that in Afghanistan, unfortunately for decades we deprived from it. And there is no freedom of speech as well in Afghanistan, which is elementary part of democracy. But regarding the women, as always that women raise their voice against the violences and they tell the truth, or also they want to be activists, play their role. Unfortunately, there is many risks for them. For example, now you see in Afghanistan we have a parliament that from 249 seats, 68 belongs to women. But unfortunately, most of these women are not real representatives. It's only few Democrat men and women, they found way in parliament. But as my experience, that every time in parliament that I wanted to talk, these fundamentalists turn off microphone, threatened me to death. And even one fundamentalist woman told me, if you do not sit silent, I will do something against you that no man dare to do. Just I said, you are, in my opinion, a victim. And many suffer memories inside of parliament, which was quite like torture for me. At least it's enough that every corner when I saw was a criminal, a warlord, a drug lord. First of all, most of them are sworn enemies of women's rights and human rights. But fortunately, I grew up in a Democrat family. That my dad is a Democrat man who believes strongly in women's rights and human rights. And I had no problem with them. But the problem of me and other activist women like me, and most of women of my country, is with non-democratic government first, and also the second main problem is male domination society. If we will have Democrat government, then the situation of a woman will improve, and we will not have not only freedom of expression, also other values of human rights in our country as well.
Thank you. All four of these women are so incredibly brave and seem to have started being brave early that I was almost completely a conformist child. I hardly spoke. I used to get school reports saying, Ursula seems to be intelligent, but she does not speak. And actually, I think it should be said that, and I was extremely anxious about not being liked. I was not brave. I was not a brave girl. I was not a particularly brave young woman. And I think the thing that turned it for me was running Virago Press, which it was impossible to be liked by everyone. And it really gave me the kind of ability to not mind when people didn't like you. So I'm just saying there's hope for us people who are so hopelessly conformist, as I really was when I was young. So thank you.